What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the episode of Primetime Sports Podcast, hosted by Joe M. Larry. So I know I haven't done too many episodes as of late. I do apologize for that. Haven't been busy with some things, but I will be doing more episodes hopefully in the next few weeks. One thing I do want to talk about is the Clippers' big win over the Celtics yesterday. Not going to be able to do that right now, though, so I'll probably save that for an episode tomorrow. But in this episode right now, I'm going to give a quick recap of last weekend's divisional games in the NFL, and then I'll talk about this week's conference championship games. We have two games coming up, one shortly, so I'm going to try to get this episode over quickly. I'll give my predictions for both those games today. We'll start off with a recap of last week's divisional games. The Ravens took down the Texans 34-10. I thought it'd be a tough game for CJ Stroud and that Texans team. I thought it'd be a close one, though. I didn't expect it to be a game where the Ravens blew them out by 3 touchdowns. That ended up being the case, 34-10 final. The Ravens really took things over in the second half, outscoring Houston 24-0 in the second half. That was a big difference maker in the game. That Baltimore defense is legit. They held Houston to 213 yards on offense and made things tough on CJ Stroud. Just 175 yards from him, no touchdowns on the day. That Texans team that lit up the Cleveland Browns the week before only scored 10 points against that Ravens defense. And the only touchdown that Houston team scored came from a punt return from Steven Sims. So that just proves how legit that Baltimore Ravens defense is. And obviously credit to the Texans. What a great season for them. CJ Stroud should be the Rookie of the Year. He had quite a season, so he is my pick for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Next up, we have the Packers and the Niners. The Packers should have won that game. They gave up 10 points in the fourth quarter. They were actually leading heading into the fourth quarter, 21-14. They were up 21-14 heading into the fourth quarter. Gave up 10 points in the closing quarter, giving up a touchdown with 1 minute and 11 seconds to go. A 6-yard rushing touchdown by Christian McCaffrey ended up being the game-winning score for San Francisco. I was rooting for the Packers in that game. I thought they were going to win, but things really fell apart for them in their last 3 or 4 drives. Their last 4 drives were an interception, and that was with 2 minutes left to go in the third quarter, then a punt, a 3-and-out, then a missed field goal, and then an interception, 52 seconds left to go. They had a chance. They were on the 40-yard line, their own 40-yard line, with a couple timeouts, if I remember right, and Jordan Love made a bad pass, bad decision, threw the ball in the middle of the field, ended up getting picked off, and that ended up being the game-winning play for San Francisco, who ended up winning that game 24-21. I was rooting for Green Bay in that game. I liked them to the upset pick. That obviously ends up not being the case. Another team that I liked to win last week were the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they ended up losing to Detroit 31-23. Detroit found a way to win that game. They gave up 408 yards to that Bucs offense, but they still found a way to overcome that and win the game, which is obviously a big difference maker. They had no turnovers, which ends up being a big reason they end up winning that game. As for the Bucs, they had 2 turnovers in that one, both of them being a Baker Mayfield interception, who actually ended the game with an interception, made a bad pass over the middle. It was 1 minute and 39 seconds left to go. They were down 8 points, ended up getting picked off to end the game, and that was a difference maker there. They did have a chance, though, at the end, down by 1 possession. They would have needed the touchdown and the 2-point conversion, but still had a chance nevertheless. Detroit's defense, though, is a little bit of a worry to me, but at the end of the day, they found a way to win. And then you had the Chiefs versus the Bills, a game that went right down to the wire, as you would imagine. The Chiefs ended up winning that one 27-24. But such a great matchup. Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes going at it. That's obviously a great storyline in the game, seeing those two guys match up. But then if you just watch the game as well, it goes right down to the wire. Every single play is so exciting. And those are always fun games to watch. I love games that go down to the wire. That's where legends are made. That's where those big moments are always remembered, those historic plays. You always remember those plays because they came in big situations and close games like that game last week between the Bills and the Chiefs. Mahomes found a way to win that game, though. Credit to him. The Bills just cannot find a way to beat the Chiefs, especially in the games that matter. I know the Bills beat the Chiefs in the regular season this year, but this game obviously mattered more in the playoffs, and Mahomes found a way to win. 2 touchdowns, 215 yards. Isaiah Pacheco was great, 15 carries and 97 yards and a touchdown. As for the Bills, just 1 touchdown from Josh Allen, 186 passing yards. I know the Chiefs' defense is good, but if you want to win that game, you probably need to have a better passing game than 186 yards. Josh Allen just can't seem to find a way to beat Patrick Mahomes when it matters most. So now I'm going to transition and talk about today's conference championship games. At the 3 o'clock game, we have the Chiefs at the Ravens. That's going to be a big matchup, going to be a fun game to watch. The Chiefs do have a lot of injuries, though. Joe Thuney, their starting guard, will be out. That's obviously a big loss. And it was just reported as well that the Chiefs will not have Willie Gay, a starting linebacker for them, who has been great this season. He will be out as well. Sky Moore's out for this matchup. Kadarius Toney's out for this matchup as well, although it just came out on Twitter that he actually wasn't hurt. He isn't hurt. He could play, but I guess the Chiefs are covering up things saying he's hurt, but he is actually healthy and could play, but not really too sure if that's the case or not. What I do know is the Giants actually caught a break last year trading him for a 3rd and a 5th round pick. I believe that was the deal. I think things worked out for the Giants, finding a way to move him for 2 draft picks. So for the Ravens, it seems like they're mostly healthy heading into this game. They've been electric all year long. Their defense has been great this season. Roquan Smith, Marlon Humphrey, Kyle Hamilton. They just have so many playmakers on that defense. That's why I really do like the Ravens. I'm rooting for them. I'm a big Lamar Jackson fan. I've loved him since his Louisville days. The clear MVP in the NFL this year. But the issue in this game is, even though I'm rooting for the Ravens, I think the Chiefs are going to win this one. And I think it really comes down to this. I think it's going to come down to a close game where the Chiefs find a way to pull off a win late in the game. I think things are going to go their way. There's going to be some close calls that go their way, because I think the NFL would love to see Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce in the Super Bowl again, because then it sets up 2 storylines. Patrick Mahomes versus Tom Brady, because obviously Patrick Mahomes would be chasing his 3rd ring if he gets to the Super Bowl this year. And then also Travis Kelce's relationship with Taylor Swift. That would be a big storyline in the Super Bowl. The NFL knows they can market that a ton, with Taylor Swift going to the game, flying from Japan, which she actually has a show the night before the Super Bowl in Japan, flying from Japan to the Super Bowl in Vegas. That would be a big storyline, something the NFL would love to cover. As for the Ravens, they're obviously a great story, a great team, but I think the NFL would get more out of the Chiefs being in the Super Bowl than the Ravens. And it comes down to just publicity and people locking into the game to see Taylor Swift on the field with Travis Kelce at the Super Bowl. And I know that's jumping to a lot of conclusions. I know that sounds crazy probably to a lot of people. That's just the thing that I'm thinking is going to happen in this game. I think the Chiefs are going to get some calls to go their way, and that'll end up sending them to the Super Bowl. But I am rooting for the Ravens. I would love to see them win. But as I've said, I think a close call is going to go the Chiefs' way, and I think they win this one 27-21. I think it's going to be a little bit lower scoring, and I think the Ravens' offense may struggle. That Chiefs' defense always heats up in the playoffs, so I think Lamar Jackson may struggle throwing the ball today against Kansas City. We'll see what happens, though. As for the night game, we have the Lions at the San Francisco 49ers. That'll be a fun one. The Lions have really impressed me this season. I know I was a little bit down on them heading into the year, but I wasn't really too big of a fan of the NFL kind of forcing the Lions on us with Dan Campbell's hard-nosed attitude. With that being said, though, credit to the Lions, credit to the franchise for turning things around, and obviously congrats to their fans. What a great story seeing them where they're at right now after the years of pain and devastation they had to go through. They've never made a Super Bowl before, so if they were to win today, that would obviously be a big historic moment for that franchise. That's why I think the NFL would probably love to see the Lions win that game, because it'd be a great storyline seeing them make their first Super Bowl. As for the 49ers, though, they could have lost that game to the Packers last week. I think they should have lost that game, to be honest. The Packers just found a way to hand them the game late, with their last 4 possessions for that Packers offense being a punt, a missed field goal, and 2 interceptions. That just can't happen if you want to win that one. So I think the 49ers already escaped a close win. If that were to be the case today, I think the Lions find a way to win if it's a close game at the end. The Lions have had some close games in the playoffs. They beat the Rams 24-23. They beat the Bucs last week 31-23. They had a lot of one-score games in the regular season go their way. A 31-26 win over the Bears, a 33-28 win over the Saints, a 30-24 win over the Vikings. They found ways to win some of those closer games this season. Then they had some big wins, too, that were bigger leads where they won by 2 touchdowns over the Falcons and the Packers and the Panthers, and also the Bucs in the regular season. But they did beat some good teams this season. They beat the Chiefs in Week 1, 21-20. They should have beat the Cowboys as well. Controversy at the end of that game. They probably should have gotten the win there. But they found ways to win games, so credit to them. I'm rooting for them in today's game. I'm not a big 49ers fan. Didn't really like the way they acted when they played the Giants this season. I thought they were a little bit arrogant when I saw them play the Giants. They had some comments about Daniel Jones after that game was over. The way I see it is, if you win the game, you shouldn't be trash-talking the opposing quarterback afterwards, especially with Daniel Jones, who didn't say anything bad about them. After they won that game, multiple players of theirs in their post-game interviews and even on Twitter as well, like Eric Armstead, was tweeting about Daniel Jones and saying how they never thought he was good, and they knew he wasn't a good quarterback, and they knew he'd struggle, and they knew what would make him turn the ball over. I'm not really that big of a fan of that. And you also have to consider the fact that Daniel Jones wasn't running his mouth at them. He wasn't starting with them on the field. He keeps to himself. He doesn't really get out there and make a lot of noise and get in players' faces. So I wasn't a fan of that, so I'll be rooting for the Lions today. I'm going to roll with the Lions winning this game. Here's my prediction for this one. I'm going to roll with the Lions winning this game. Even though their defense does worry me a little bit, especially their secondary, they play a little bit chippy on defense. They hit hard. It seems like they play aggressive, which I thought actually in their playoff game against the Rams, I thought they played a little bit dirty. But I'm not really a 49ers fan, So I got to roll with the Lions in this one. I'm not really a big fan of either team, but I'm going to roll with the Lions and Jared Goff finding a way to win this one. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game. I know the over-under is like 52.5. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, though. I think the 49ers struggle in this one early on. Maybe they make things interesting at the end. Just like that Packers game, they found a way to come back and win at the end. I don't think that's the case today. I think this Lions team is going to roll on the road at San Francisco. So I'm going to roll with both away teams winning today. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs. I'm going to roll with the Lions. I think the Lions win this one. I'm going to say 27-17. I think it'd be a 10-point win for the Detroit team. I could be way off here. Could be a big hot take, but I'm rooting for the Lions, so I'm going to roll with them in this one. Anyways, that'll wrap up this episode. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to listen to this. As always, I appreciate it. Enjoy the games today, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Thank you.